Jadi ini tuh ini ya, borgol. Di sini ada fluid.
This man here is Chief Constable Rafter. Time that the Peaky Blinders were causing us. Were very active as criminals in Birmingham and the surrounding areas, and causing a lot of problems for the communities. So it has been an operational building as a lockup from 1891 to 2016. It's only opened up as a museum 2 years ago.
Jadi bapak ini yang baju biru ini ya, pemandunya, dan yang mbak-mbak itu ini ya, interpreter ya, penerjemahnya dari bahasa Inggris itu ke ini ya, ke BSL ya.
Welcome to the West Midlands Police Museum. Obviously you know my name's Tony. I'm going to give you some information about the building and how it operated and what its purpose was in life. So you've already had the photographs done within the holding cell, which is where a prisoner would be brought prior to being booked in at the charge desk, which is behind you. So that would be staffed by a sergeant, and going back to the 1920s, came out to here. And there on the left, on top of the wooden box, that's what it used to look like. This colour photograph on the lower box, again, is what it used to look like in later years. Now that gentleman behind the custody desk is Sergeant Phil Tucker, who is actually a volunteer here now. So the whole purpose of the building is to detain a person for court. Not a prison, although it looks like a prison inside. You would generally be held here no longer than 24 hours, unless, unfortunately, you were arrested on a Friday afternoon. And that's because magistrates, going back in the decades, did not work at weekends, so you'd be arrested Friday afternoon and you would be here till Monday morning. Now, that rather attractive lad behind you, that used to stand outside Birmingham Police's very first purpose-built police station called Duke Street. And we do have the original nameplate. Duke Street Police Station no longer exists. If you're local to Birmingham, if you were to walk down Stillhouse Lane to the bottom and looked across diagonally, you will see the old West Midlands Central Fire Station. Duke Street was behind it. Duke Street was demolished in 1984 to make way for the expansion of Aston University. All of that function that Duke Street had then moved to Park Lane until 2020. And then Park Lane was significantly redeveloped then to become the Force Communication Centre and a response base. Here you will see from the pictures that this wall was actually blocked out when we took the building over, and we've opened it up to look like the pictures. This was effectively a notice board. You couldn't see through it, and this is original glass. So this is going back a hell of a long time. The building opened in 1891. When do you think it might have closed? It closed in 2016. 2016, 2 years out. So this building was in use over 200 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. From here, we'll move into the main body of the building. We'll start on this level, we will then go upstairs and then go to the basement.
Wow. Jadi ini dulu bekas ini ya, bekas apa namanya? Bekas penjara ya.
So we're now into the main body of the building on the ground floor level. You will notice that the floor is steel grated here and above us on the top floor. Now that is for a very specific reason. In 1891, when this building opened, there was no artificial light. Therefore, the building was designed with a full glass roof so that the light could naturally travel through. The other thing to note, as we go round, is that in 1891 there were no toilets, as well as no artificial light. And what I'll demonstrate to you is how a cell would have looked back in 1891. The cell on my right, this first cell, we've only had it open with a display for about 4 months, and it depicts on the back wall a rather large painting of Sir Charles Horton Rafter. He was Birmingham Police's first Chief Constable, appointed in 1899 and retired in 1999 and retired in 1935. Please go and have a look. In the 1960s, things were modern, TV, etc., portable radios. It might be a little crowded, especially for me to stand to one side so you can interpret.
Okay.
So what we have here is a cell that represents how it would have been in 1891. The bench behind, this is original. As you can see, door goes back to the wall, no toilet, no hand wash. That bucket is the toilet. If you come this way, come on in, your light at night would have been supplied by a candle. The candle would have been behind this grill, and it would be about that bright, if you were lucky. This is probably much brighter than the candle would have been. But as an example of how dark the cell was, and this is where you would be for probably 12 hours a day. Unlike a prison, this custody facility, once you're in your cell, you stay in your cell. There is no exercise yard. There is no right to exercise. More importantly, if I do that, that's more like the light level you would have had.
That is it. So that is it. That's all we have. That is a light. She's just explaining wow, it's amazing. That is it.
That is it. And unlike current custody, you have a bench. The box on the end is the pillow. And because when you were arrested back in the early 1900s, you could be brought into here with your personal effects. The lid actually opens up so you can store them.
Yeah. Can you lift it up? Oh.
Yeah, lift it.
Oh.
It's hard to believe that in 1891 you would have been allowed to smoke in here. There was no law that says you couldn't.
Was it really noisy?
Oh yes, I'll show you. So what you will see on the left in the storyboard actually depicts the front of the police station, which is next door. In the modern custody block, the benches are about this high off the floor, so that if you're drunk, you can't fall off and injure yourself. Right, so this cell depicts how things have changed over the decades, because as we got into the 70s, 80s, 90s, we had things like medical facilities within the custody block.